You can be a manager and not be a good leader. You can go and do the day-to-day tasks as a manager, but never influence somebody in a good direction. I'd never experienced a business that would open up their doors and spend their time and their money. I mean, maybe it was only a $10 sandwich, but it was an investment in me as a person. And that really changed my mindset. I mean, we get a group of people together having a conversation. You think we're not taking away from that? We absolutely are. We've made changes in our business before from the people that come to tour. I mean, we're in this to get better together.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Plumbing and HVAC Hustle Podcast, and I've got Dustin Van Orman from
Good morning.
Any Hour Group. How you doing,
Thanks
sir?
for having me here.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about how tours can be a massive instigator to growth in your business. Office tours. And you guys have an office tour coming up here
We
January.
do. Here's what I believe. You know, we're sitting here at a conference right now networking with other contractors, and I believe that's really valuable. You got to meet people, you got to connect with people, and that's how you build your network, and you can learn from all these people. But I also believe, along with conferences, you need to see other businesses. For us at Any Hour, I mean, we've seen tremendous success and growth due, I would say, largely to the impact made on us by visiting other companies. There's companies all over the country that are happy to open their doors and share with you willingly what they've done to be successful. And you should go and learn what they're doing and take it home and innovate, make your business better. So yeah, let's talk about that.
And I'm going to be there. It's the 29th and 30th of January, and we're going to be doing Top Golf in the snow. I didn't know you guys
there
had
might be snow.
Yeah, there might be snow. We might be playing some Top Golf. We are playing some Top Golf.
There's heaters.
We're also going to be creating a little bit of content for fun when we're walking around and doing this tour. I know that it's been a big deal for me this last 4 years. I got to go out and see Tommy's shop. That was the first one.
Very cool.
He did a tour with just me. And actually, Bia was there. And it's just, God, it felt pretty nice of him to do that just for us too.
I've been there several times.
Yeah.
And this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Tommy, we know Tommy. He's a big deal. His business is a big deal. He lets anyone and everybody come for a tour at his business. I've been there several times.
And there's always a couple things you take. It's like the way something's structured, or if somebody tells you this or that. And the other thing is with podcasts, okay, we always try to present our best foot forward, but there's also things like I've been on a lot of tours. I've been in now since then, 4 years ago, I've done probably 15, 20.
Nice.
And sometimes it's other people are struggling with this thing too.
Yeah.
Especially I've done ones where I'm sitting around for a while. I did a 2-day one, and I'm just sitting in the call center and soaking up the calls.
Sure.
I'm learning stuff on the way stuff's done.
And you can go to those same shops again and you'll learn something new. And that's what you got to do, is find the people that you really connect with, build that network, and then go back over and over again. We have people come to our business every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. We're going to talk about this period for you guys at the beginning, from that $3 to $15 million range, because I know that you guys are pretty big now. So just for credibility, if you don't mind sharing some of the revenue numbers that you guys are doing right now.
Okay, so we are Any Hour Services in Utah. Utah location. Now we'll talk a little broader picture here, but Utah Any Hour Services, I started there 13 and a half years ago at about $2.5 million in revenue. Today, the company will do about $110 million in Utah, all organic, same
Incredible.
Leadership team the whole time.
That's
Okay?
beautiful.
And we're going to talk about that too, the whole leadership team. Now, as a big overall snapshot of Any Hour, we have Any Hour Services. We decided to start a group about 3.5 years ago, and we can talk about that if you want to. But Any Hour Group now is 30 locations in 10 states, 25 different brands, and we'll call it a little over $500 million in revenue this year.
So a couple bucks.
Couple bucks.
And certainly we will touch on some of those things for the larger companies watching. I think that I'm sure there's been a lot of challenges in that bigger scaling side, but let's start with that beginning part. For instance, you joined up at 3 million, is that what I understand?
About that.
And the first couple years, what were some of those major challenges that felt like they were going to hold you guys back?
It's interesting. We have people come on tours all the time, and I've been asked very directly many times, what's the silver bullet to your success, right? And that's such a complex question, but it's not at the same time. It's pretty simple. If you look at our growth from, let's call it 3 to 5, that's a very pivotal moment when, up until that point, the owner has been wearing every single hat, right? They're doing the marketing, they're doing the recruiting, they're doing the books, they're doing, right? They're just doing everything. And you have to come to a point where you can start to take off a few hats. You can't grow if you're doing it all yourself. Okay, so you have to be able to find and develop leadership to surround yourself with that makes you better. Okay, it's funny. I was having a talk earlier today with another podcast, and we were talking about what makes a good leader, and it came out that the worst leader is a leader that can't recognize their own limitations. Okay. Because if you can't recognize your own limitations, you can't progress. Because the goal is to surround yourself with people that have strengths that make your limitations better. And if you're at that 3 to 5, 7, whatever million range in your business, the thing you're struggling with the most is finding the leadership to help you take a few hats off. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what is the silver bullet in developing a business at that stage?
Still a lot of money chasing these transactions. You know, there's still really good outcomes out there for sellers. It's good to have someone like us in your corner because we're not emotional, but guess what? When you're selling your business, it becomes emotional, and so it's really good to have an intermediary, you know, there every step of the way. www.sfpadvisors.com. All the contact information is directly on the website.
When leaders cannot let something go, when leaders choose to knowingly, or I guess it isn't knowingly, it's unconsciously undermine their people by controlling things, I empathize with that a lot. I definitely do, because it is something that's very hard, because you are good. Usually you're really good at the thing.
Yeah.
So it's hard to let that go.
And that's the hardest thing. And one of the stumbling blocks that stops a business from growing is the owner or the leader in the business being able to let things go. That is hard to do, right? Because you know you're going to do it better, but then you have to find people you can have confidence in that can, and maybe they're not going to do it as good as you. And you have to be okay helping that person become better, but knowing that they're developing also, right? But be okay with them maybe not being as good as you.
What about those, let's say the 5 to 15 million, where you probably had to start to get, and maybe you did before this, but like getting training systems in place to help people level up? Is that the time where you started to get that more heavy duty?
Yeah. I've been on the leadership team at Any Hour for, call it almost 13 years. And the entire time I've been one of the managers or leaders in the business, I've attended a leadership development training in the company every single week. Okay. So often the mistake people made is they see some talent in a technician maybe. And so they say, okay, that's who I want as my service manager. And so they promoted them into the position and they tell them good luck and they say, here's what we want you to do. And they got to go figure it out themselves. Now, the thing that's neglected is you see management potential. And so you make them a manager, but have you helped them recognize their leadership potential? Okay. You can be a manager and not be a good leader. You can go and do the day-to-day tasks as a manager, but never influence somebody in a good direction. And when you recognize that the number one reason that people leave a business, all of us are trying to attract and keep top talent, right? And that top talent, if they don't have a really good relationship with their manager, with their direct contact, chances are you're not going to keep them forever. That's the number one reason. And so developing your managers to be able to communicate properly, to be able to listen properly. That's a huge one, is listening to your people and understanding what their needs are. So without a leadership development course, you're just going to have managers, not leaders.
Do you guys use any outside courses for that? Any frameworks or anything that you guys use, or you develop something internally?
We'll give you the easiest framework possible. We used to tease and call it book club.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we gather for our leadership development trainings, we use books that we've found valuable insight in, and we use them as an outline. Okay, so the goal when you go to, don't call it book club. I got in trouble when I called it that.
Okay.
All right. You're going to leadership development, and the reason you don't call it book club is you want your people to take it serious, right? But use some of the foundational books out there. Everybody is at a different stage of development in their leadership abilities. Some of our favorites are Good to Great, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Habits of Highly Effective People. And the goal is not to take your group through the book quickly. It's to discover leadership principles together. And there's a format you want to follow. Obviously, you need to have an instructor, and the instructor needs to be versed on the content that you're going over, but they also need to pull out some of those leadership principles, because you want to pinpoint principles in the book and discuss how that applies in your department. And this is really powerful. When you get a group of managers together, you know, as you scale as a business and you got 3, then 5, then 7 managers in this leadership course, I don't care if there's just 2, you still need to have it. But when you have a group of managers in this course and they're sharing their personal experiences when they're practicing these principles, that's where the power's had. So we'll discover a principle, talk about how we think it applies to our department and to our people, then we'll have a homework assignment, and then we'll follow up the next week, and the first thing we discuss is the successes and experiences from our homework assignment, okay? And so people are actually taking principles out of these books, going back to their different departments, practicing, and it's very specific what the homework is, and the leader needs to determine that, the one running the course, right? Take it back, apply it, get experience, and bring it back to the group. So oftentimes what will happen is we'll spend almost the entire time discussing the experiences we had the week before, and we don't even get into another principle in the book. And that's okay. It's not about getting through the book. It's about discovering principles and practicing them and then reporting so we can all learn together.
Do you do it weekly, or how often
Weekly.
is it done? Yeah.
Yep.
I think, so we've started to develop something like this in our company this last year, and I think it was partly because of your instigation on a previous podcast we did. And I do really like the intentionality. We haven't been doing it weekly, but we've I think it's 1 book a quarter or something like that we've been going through. We just went through Radical Candor.
Awesome.
Very good book. My favorite principle from that one is that she talks about most people are not, there's a danger of going too far in different directions, right? People think that being mean is a direction that they're going to accidentally go into, but a lot of times it's actually ruinous empathy, where they're being so empathetic to the employee that the employee, by the time they're getting fired, doesn't even realize what's happened, like why.
Yeah.
So I really like the idea of Radical Candor as almost a solution to that ruinous empathy, but we've been studying that together. I think something I struggle with is if I'm not fully exemplifying the principles in something, and I think it became very clear. I remember we were doing one of these book things, and I was having a bad day, and I was kind of an asshole. And then we're writing up on the board this thing about radical candor, which is not what I was doing at that moment.
That's funny.
So do you when certainly you got human beings in this company, right? And human beings in leadership that occasionally lose their cool or do something that they shouldn't have done. It is hard to talk about leadership sometimes when you're not perfect at it.
Correct. One of the things we teach technicians when they go to a customer's house is to take a little bit of time before the call to clear your mind and to become focused. And so sometimes they'll need to pull over before they pull up to the house and look themselves in the mirror and get their mind right. I've had to do the same thing at work. Here's the reality, Tim. You're not allowed to have a bad day. You're not. You're the leader of the business, and you need to show up with a direction in mind for your team because they're looking to you for guidance. And if you're just not feeling it that day, you might need to go sit in the truck and drink a Red Bull. You might. And that's okay. Go take 15 minutes for yourself. Go look yourself in the eyes. Go and practice your smile if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Okay? Because when you smile, even if it's fake, all of a sudden you're shaping your, I'll call it your face muscles. I don't know, but you need to sometimes take some time to make sure you're showing up right, because every single day they're looking to you and you have to be on top of your game.
Yeah.
And so if you're having a meeting and you're having a bad day, you might need to excuse yourself to the restroom for a minute and go splash your face with water. I don't know, because you're not allowed to have a bad day. And for the owners out there, if you're showing up to work and you are grouchy with your employees, go and fix it. Because you're not going to succeed in business if you're having a bad day, because you're wearing off on every one of them. And they're not going to take good care of the customer. And you're going to fail.
That's real. That's real. Let's circle back towards this office tours thing, because I think a lot of people know about this. We're talking to HVAC and plumbing, and a lot of people know about this, but not everyone does it because it's popular now. I think it's a common thing. I don't know if it's always, it probably hasn't always been that way, correct? Like, I don't think it's...
Which part?
Like office tours, like
office
people
tours.
consistently doing office tours of other people.
Well, I remember the first time I did it.
Yeah.
Up until I started with Any Hour, I didn't know you could go to another business and they'd give you everything, right? First week I started, so this is back in 2011, Wyatt, the owner of the business here, the principal founder, he called me up before I came to work, and this is the first week. He says, hey, pack a bag. We're going to go on a little trip. I'm pretty spontaneous, and it was the day before he told me this. He's like, let's go on a trip. I said, all right. So we jumped in a truck. We drove 9 hours all the way to Denver, Colorado, and we went and visited with 3 different businesses there. And these are businesses that we went to over and over again because they had an impact on our team. And we call it our good to great trip because it's way more than just going to see a shop. And this is another, I think, a principle in your business that you can learn from. You need to spend time developing your leaders one-on-one. And so this good to great trip, this was me and Wyatt in a truck driving for 9 hours to go see some businesses. But the trick of that trip, the big impact on me was, it's called Good to Great for a reason. We actually put in, this is back when we were still using CDs. We'd put in the discs for Good to Great and we'd listen to them the entire time we were driving. And we would only press pause if we were prepared to talk about the principles in that book while we were driving. Okay? So the Good to Great trip is all about building relationships with your leaders and discovery. You're discovering growth opportunity in not just the businesses you're seeing, but in the conversations you're having. And so we were on a Good to Great trip. We drove to Denver. We got out there, and one example, one of my good friends, Bob Logan, works at, he's the GM there at Plumline in Denver. And Bob, this is a long time ago, and I don't want to say just a service technician, because this is a whole other story we could get into down the road. If you want, we can get into it. But he brought me in under his wing. He gave me a private tour. He arranged for me to ride along with some of his technicians. He took me out to lunch. We went to Jimmy John's. It was great. And I got the Gargantuan. I remember all this because it had an impact on me. Yeah. Right? But I was blown away.
Shout out to the Gargantuan. Shout out.
Shout out, right? There's nothing wrong with the Garg, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it had an impact on me because I'd never experienced a business that would open up their doors and spend their time and their money. I mean, maybe it was only a $10 sandwich, but it was an investment in me as a person. And that really changed my mindset. And so we did that 13, 14 years ago. And ever since I've been at Any Hour, we've opened our doors and we've had people come for tours constantly. And it's funny because if you come to the tour here in the end of January, we're going to walk through the building and there's probably meetings happening. There's probably trainings going on, and we're going to parade right through them. And we're going to interrupt them and we're going to say hi and tell everybody what we're doing. And they're going to be excited to see you because we do this every day. They're used to having people paraded through their meetings. Why? Because we want them to see the meetings. We want them to see what we're doing as a business and why we've been successful. And so this is an all access tour. Meaning we're opening up everything and answering questions to help you in your business.
Well, is the franchise stuff, like, because you guys do franchise stuff to support the other companies, is that in the same location? Like, do you guys have like support staff
We
for the
have-
franchise?
We have franchise type support,
Okay.
but it's not an actual franchise.
Okay.
Any Hour Group, we found a partner in the private equity world
Yeah.
that provides the finance for us to be able to bring partners into the group.
Okay.
And
Excuse
so
me.
the Any Hour Group is the entity that will actually buy the other partner businesses, and then they invest into the entire portfolio with
Yeah.
us and become our partners. But then we do offer a ton of resources and
Yeah.
tools and support. I mean, if you come for a tour, and when you come out there, Tim,
Yeah.
we'll show you our entire marketing studio. And
Mm.
one of my favorite things is in that studio, there's a clothing rack with a uniform for every one of our partners. And they can call us up and say, hey, I really liked that production you did. Can you make one for me?
Oh, wow.
We'll put their shirt on and do the production in
That's
their uniform,
incredible.
right?
That's super cool. Wow. That's next
So-
level.
Many homes suffer from inefficient HVAC systems due to leaky ducts, leading to uneven room temps, lost airflow, and higher energy costs. AeroSeal's innovative sealant technology targets and repairs leaks, improving airflow and efficiency. Increase your customer satisfaction, increase sales, and offer a unique market advantage. Become a leader in HVAC efficiency. aeroseal.com.
So a lot of that stuff though that you guys do is that's centralized for those other partners.
Yeah.
A lot of that is in this location as well.
Yeah, and that takes it, go back in history just a little bit. When we first started considering what to do with our business, we were approached by all the different private equity companies out there. We were super nervous. I mean, we had a lot of barriers up because it's the biggest decision you're going to make in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after touring around and talking to them, they were good people, but we were still nervous. It felt like if we joined one of those groups, we'd be giving something up. It felt like a takeover in a way. And so we decided to form the Any Hour Group so we could create these resources and tools and offer to people what we felt like we just weren't finding. And that's a real partnership. And that's why they invest into the portfolio with us and why we create all these tools. I mean, how many people like their after hours service? I got to be careful what I say here. I might upset these after hours companies, right? But
Yeah.
I've heard in many cases that businesses have a hard time turning their phones over at night because their customer's not getting the same experience simply because they're not trained the same. So at Any Hour, one of the services we provide, and we've been developing these things throughout the years, is our partners can turn their phones over to us at night and be assured that they're getting answered properly.
Yeah.
Right? So we're booking calls for them 24 hours a day so we know their customers are taken care of. That's just one example.
I think any of those examples are really cool because I think that if you're joining up with a private equity group or one of these roll-ups or whatever, it's that type of stuff that it's like, not only do I'm happy to have some more money in my bank to pull some chips off the table, but I also want the business to actually be better by being part of this group. I actually want my company and my people to have a better time.
Agreed.
And that's the ideal scenarios where you can pull some chips off, but maybe you don't get the largest. I mean, I don't know like how well you guys pay compared to like others on multiples, but I'd rather have a good chunk off the table. And if I was doing this, I want us to actually improve our company. I don't want to, the scary part with private equity sometimes, and there's good and bad groups out there. There is.
Careful. Here's what I'll comment on that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's good and bad. I think that they're all fine.
Yeah.
I think that there's good and bad for some people. They're different.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a quick experience I had, and I won't say any names, but I spoke at a conference, and a lot of times you'll see different private equity companies speaking at the same conference, and that's great. But I did my presentation, talked about how passionate I am about the Any Hour Group and the resources I feel we can offer and this and that and the real partnership that we're presenting to people. And this other company got up, and one of the people in the audience asked him, well, if we join your group, are you going to fire our managers? They asked this other guy, not me. And he looked him right in the eye and he said, probably. He said, I'm in the business of finding companies that are in need of some support, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to clean house, and there's a good chance I'm going to fire you too. I was a little startled at first, right?
Yeah.
But then he looked at him again, and I actually gained a lot of respect at this point. He said, if you're looking for a real partnership and you want somebody that you're going to share resources and continue down the road with, go talk to Any Hour Group at the back of the room.
Oh.
Okay? He said, I'm in the business of fixing businesses. And obviously he might be paying different multiples, right? But what I learned that day is it's neither right or wrong or bad or good. It's just different models. Now, we've heard of people having a bad experience before, right?
Yeah.
That's their problem. That's their fault. They didn't do enough research and educate themselves to understand what that experience was going to be like. Because it's not bad or good. It's just their model, right? There's different models in this. And so my advice to anyone that's looking at private equity is don't make a hasty decision just because you see dollar signs. Your lower offer might be your better offer. You need to understand everything involved, because if you're looking for a real partnership and not just a takeover and maybe kick you out, they're not bad people doing that. They really aren't. That's just what they do.
How do you guys network amongst the portfolio? Like, how do you take what's working over here and get it over here? Like, what is the networking behind the scenes of the companies?
That's a good question. And what that reminds me of is, well, here's what I'm looking for. I talk to businesses every day, and I'm looking to find alignment in 3 areas to determine if this is a good relationship or a good potential partnership. First and foremost, we got to decide if we like each other. If you're talking to private equity groups and you're just looking at the money and you don't see a real relationship there, don't join them, because it's a relationship and you got to know that you like each other. So I'm going to go to dinner with people. We're probably going to go to Topgolf. We're going to do a few things and just see if we enjoy the relationship, because once it's done, you're stuck together, right? It's a real thing. And so make sure you like each other first. Second thing, and this is why I thought of this, is we're really looking for people, business owners, and not just the owners, but the leadership team that are intelligent people that can contribute to the success of others in the group, and also companies that are teachable, that are willing to network with the other partners that are part of any of our group and benefit from their contribution. So friendship, a level of contribution where we're helping each other, and third and final and important but not first priority is the financial aspect. It's got to be a win-win for everyone involved. We want the people that join us to have a great valuation. At the same time, we need to pay the right price to make it so it's profitable for all of us. Friendship, teaching each other, and financial.
What specifically do the teaching opportunities look like? Do you guys get together
You bet.
every couple months, or what is the rhythm on that, and what is the the format?
I'm going home next week. We have all of our partners coming into Utah. We're doing a budget workshop where we're discussing budgets together. We're making decisions, and we're getting ready for next year. That's happening next week. Throughout the year, we have efficiency workshops. We have marketing workshops. We have this budget where we have all sorts of different things where the general managers, the owners, they're all coming together, and we're networking, we're working, and becoming better together. Along with that, we have training opportunity for the technicians and office teams in these partner companies to come together also. If I showed you the calendar, I've got 50 plus trainings planned this year. These are immersive trainings, 2, 3, 4 day trainings, where our partner companies are coming together to learn. We'll have a classroom of 50 people in the same room from all over the country learning together. Our goal is to provide an opportunity for the people and the businesses that join us to immerse in training with their partners. Then they get to see who they're teamed with.
Well, I'll talk about this as roofing, because we're at a roofing conference. Roofing process conference, and a lot of these private equity roll-ups are a little less advanced than where you guys are at. I think it's earlier. You're talking about earlier in the private equity gold rush for roofing, and kind of curious. I don't think a lot of people do that to that degree on what you guys are doing. I'm trying to say it that way so that we don't have to talk about any of the other roll-ups in HVAC and plumbing. But those guys and the lower shared resources, because I think shared resources is a really big, that's why that helps create enterprise value, right?
Yeah,
and the fact you guys have a 30-person marketing team in-house, then the trainings, like I don't see that as being as advanced in a lot of these other like earlier on type things. Is there anything else besides those two that you feel like is like people should learn from you guys if they were in this space, let's say?
And if they're looking at going into a private equity partnership with someone?
Yeah, and I'm more saying like to the other roll-ups in, let's say, a different industry? And I'm saying it that way because I know you don't want to share your secret sauce, but what could they learn from you? Because there are some people that will watch this that are trying to learn how to do this right.
I think what gets neglected sometimes is it changes from a relationship to a transaction. And I don't care which group it is. People are people, and we need to be mindful of the effect that a deal like this has on people. And so, advice to anyone, whether they're in private equity or looking at an opportunity, see what the relationship is like, because it affects so many lives. And the reason you've seen and heard of other people's bad experience is because people got forgotten. And whatever decision we make, every decision in this interaction affects somebody, right? And it's going to affect people regardless. I mean, there is going to be some impact on your business, but keeping it real, realizing that it affects real people and their lives, and just being considerate of that, you know.
How long should you hang out with the person you're about to do a transaction with? Like, how many times? Do you guys do like 10 hangouts, or what's
there's what we try to do more than is what's typical.
Yeah.
I mean, in most cases, depending on how they're bringing their business to market, but a lot of times they have representation that's helping them find the right deal to go with, and they do an introductory phone call, and then they sometimes do one face-to-face interaction. That's what most of them do, and that's it. Now, in my mind, that's not enough to know if you want to marry somebody, right? We try to do more. We'd like to go to their location. We'd like them to come to our location, so we want them to come and interview us, right? If they're coming and walking the halls of Any Hour Services, they get to see our people. They get to see that they're happy. They get to see the culture. They get to see the resources and tools and the leadership and all the things that we can offer. If whatever business they're joining or looking at joining doesn't invite them to their location, what are they hiding? I don't know, right? But we want to make sure that we pull down all the curtains and people can see who we really are. But in the normal process, it's a few conversations is all, and then they start looking at numbers. We want more than that if we can. So
next opportunity to check out Any Hour's office is the 29th and the 30th of January.
Yep.
And so check it out. Whether or not you want to be considered as a potential partner, or you just want to learn from some people that have gone to this extreme level in their space and in their excellence. And I know that you guys probably have some people that, two of you guys that are bigger than you, I'm guessing.
Not very many.
Yeah, not very many. There's not that many out there. All right.
Here's the thing, Tim.
Yeah.
I don't care if you've got 2 technicians or 200. It doesn't matter. We can all learn from each other. It's worth your time. It's an investment in yourself. We're going to share everything we're doing as much as we can in a limited amount of time, but we want everyone to come. It's not, and you're not coming so we can do a timeshare presentation and sell you on joining the Any Hour group. I had over 200 businesses come through last year, and the percentage that joined us was small compared to that, right? It's more about the relationships you make in this business. And here's the thing, we're a little bit selfish too, because when you come to visit us, we're learning from you. I mean, we get a group of people together having a conversation. You think we're not taking away from that? We absolutely are. We've made changes in our business before from the people that come to tour. I mean, we're in this to get better together.
Absolutely. And where can people contact you to get on the list to do the tour?
Absolutely. My cell phone, just call me. We'll help you get the information you need to be able to come out. You can always check out online as well at anyhourgroup.com. But contact me directly. My direct line is area code 801-787-3546. And we'd love to have you come. I like making new friends.
Absolutely. And I'd love to hang out with you guys too if you guys go to that one. But otherwise, there's always ones coming up. So if you're watching this video later, see when the dates are for the next one. Appreciate you guys watching. It's the Plumbing and HVAC Hustle podcast. Please follow us everywhere online, hvac.com.
By the way, no charge. We're just getting together.
All right. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's go. Appreciate you guys. See you on the next one.